Damascus Steel. Just what is it? I'm sure it's a term you've heard before, and we get customers asking us every day for knives made with Damascus steel. But precisely what does that mean? Is that even a good thing? This video is all about talking about this beautiful yet difficult to do technique. With both traditional and modern applications, there's a lot to learn. We'll cover what it is, production methods, as well as the upsides and downsides of this beautiful looking appearance. Maido, Brad here from Sakai Ichimonji Mitsuhide, and we've been making kitchen knives for over 70 years. Before anything else, just what exactly is Damascus steel? Well, that depends on what time period you refer to. This modern definition is completely different to where the term originated from. Originally, Damascus steel referred to wood steel, a kind of steel developed in ancient India. Steel was used in swords that were made in Damascus, the capital of modern-day Syria. And these swords were particularly known for their beautiful wood grain-like patterns, so the steel gradually came to be known as Damascus steel. The Damascus steel you see on knives today, though, isn't actually a steel at all. It's a finishing type, made using a completely different process, simply inheriting the name because the patterns resemble that of the original Damascus steel. Interestingly enough, the original methods for creating Damascus steel have actually been lost to time, with many experts believing that this precise original recipe and technique can no longer be fully recreated today. For Western style knives at least, there's two main Damascus steel production methods that we deal with at our company. A joining type which we simply refer to as clad Damascus, and a much newer type called coreless Damascus. Clad Damascus is what you're almost always going to see on store shelves, and it's made by layering two different kinds of metal, hard steel and soft iron, which both have different properties. When made correctly, a milfoil-like pattern will appear on the cladding of the knife, which is then given a surface treatment to bring out a beautiful patterned finish. Clad Damascus has been the mainstay in the market for a very long time. However, steel techniques are always improving, and now a special new type of Damascus is available. Coreless Damascus is made exclusively by Takaful Special Steel, and it is completely different, as instead of being clad on top of a hard cutting steel, the steel itself is made by overlapping two high hardness steels with different hardness levels. This effectively gives the knife no core steel, hence its name. Because both steels have different hardnesses after processing, a wave-like pattern forms on the blade. It's still a bit of a broad category, but there is one key visual difference between these two types of Damascus. With coreless Damascus knives, the pattern goes all the way until the knife's edge. Clad Damascus can't do this because the steel is effectively a single piece, and the core cutting steel can't have the Damascus finish applied to it. Coreless Damascus, or rather coreless steel itself, is incredibly new, at least in the world of kitchen knives. Patented only in 2010, it will take time for artisans to get used to this steel and release products for it. That said, products are available, and I'll show you our award-winning one at the end of the video. Again though, is Damascus steel good? Should you get it? Here's 3 key benefits to getting a knife with Damascus steel. While Damascus steel doesn't improve performance at all, it is an indicator that the knife is made well. Making a knife with a Damascus steel finish requires expensive steel, but more importantly requires good expertise and artisanship. A relatively good knife with a Damascus steel finish really can't be found for under 20,000 yen, about 125 USD at the time of script writing. And the price range for such knives goes all the way from 10,000 yen to hundreds of thousands of yen for the very best. But processors are getting better over time due to the extreme popularity Damascus steel is getting. So we are seeing this price start to decrease, at least in the world of clad knives. Now the most attractive point of Damascus steel is, well, just how attractive this finish is. The visual impact is strong and it no longer feels like you're using an ordinary knife. And this is more crucial than you might think, because cooking, at least in our opinion, should be a fun thing to do. If using a knife with Damascus steel raises your spirits and makes cooking more enjoyable for you, then it's a great idea to get a knife that has it. A kitchen knife is a tool, and this means if you use your tool more, then it adds so much more value to your purchase than just looks alone. And it's precisely this reason that Damascus steel is as popular as it is. It does also give you a sense of responsibility with the knife as well. You may want to use it more, but you will likely also want to care for it more, like someone does for a luxury car or an important ring or watch. The emotional impact of looking after a luxurious item is important, and this might mean that your kitchen knife will last quite a bit longer, as you may be more meticulous with its care. Because knives with Damascus steel are so pretty, they are also a #1 choice for gifts. A lot of people who visit our store from overseas are looking for knives as mementos or souvenirs, and a knife with a Damascus finish on it is perfect for that. It really invokes a Japanese style aesthetic, plus looks incredibly luxurious. That said, there are also some things with Damascus steel knives to be mindful of. If you want to use a knife with a Damascus steel finish on it, be aware that the pattern can fade as the knife is sharpened. During the knife making process, a surface treatment is often applied at the end to really bring out the luster of the finish. This can be lost on parts of the knife that get sharpened over time, making the pattern more difficult to see. This is a tricky situation because how do you keep the knife in good order while keeping it looking beautiful? Ultimately, at least to us, a knife is all about kiriaji or cutting ability. And if you want to sharpen a knife and focus solely on keeping good kiriaji, the sides will get shaved down and the pattern will become quite scratched or become quite diminished. For professionals at least, while the surface treatment and patterns are important, they're secondary to the cutting ability itself. Of course, a professional sharpener will do their best to keep the pattern as good as possible, but even with an expensive knife, this isn't guaranteed. It's best to discuss with your sharpener about your knife when you take it in. If you absolutely don't want the pattern to be damaged, a good sharpener can potentially do this, but it might come at the cost of a little bit of sharpness loss. Alternatively, and perhaps a slightly more extreme solution, is to get the entire surface shaved down and smoothed out again to bring the pattern back to something more like its original state. Or accept the transience of the pattern itself and just acknowledge that over time the pattern will change as the knife is used more and becomes more uniquely yours. That's okay too. So let's recap. Damascus steel finishes make it more likely that the knife is made well, gives a sense of luxury to the knife, and can make it more fun to use, and also makes a wonderful gift option. However, it does drive the price of the knife up somewhat, and the pattern can be lost without proper care. Whether it's good for you or not is up to you. For now though, let's show some of the examples of Damascus we have in the store here. Our Aya series is made using VG10 stainless steel with a Taihan handle. This is our quintessential clad Damascus model, offering an affordable price point yet still having some decent cutting ability and potential thanks to its VG10 core. This kind of knife fits very firmly into the category of being great for a gift. We normally carry them in Santoku, Gyuto, Petty and Nakiri variants, but they are a bestseller, so catching them in stock can sometimes be a bit difficult. Our Sazanami series is made in both VG10 and AUS 10, with different handles depending on the model. Both of these have a clad Damascus finish towards the blade's core steel, as well as a hammered patterning on the flat of the knife called a tsuchime finish. This tsuchime Damascus combination has been incredibly popular as of late, and we are seeing more and more requests for it. Rather than polishing the entire surface, this roughening via hammer on the sides of the knife gives a much more handmade style impression to the entire thing. The AUS 10 range is at a higher price point and fits comfortably into the mid-range, whereas the VG10 range is a little more accessible and great for newcomers or for a gift. Our best-in-class knife with a Damascus finish is our coreless Kirameki Damascus Santoku, which won a design award in Fukuoka in 2024. With naturalized wood as the handle, this is more or less the pinnacle of coreless Damascus knives that we can make. This is one of our sample ones. And it comes with a steep price tag, but its performance and luxury really can't be beat. The handle comes in a large variety of colors too. If you take a closer look at the blade, you will see that indeed the Damascus does go all the way to the cutting edge. There are options that aren't just double-edged ones too though. Did you know that you can actually get Damascus steel finishes on single-edged knives? It's tricky to do, but it is possible. We've really only talked about Damascus patterns on clad and coreless knives, but traditional forge-welded knives can have Damascus patterns too. We call this Suminagashi Damascus. Suminagashi means ink marbling in Japanese, and we use this term because the pattern you see on such knives resembles the appearance of ink dripping onto water, creating these subtle yet beautiful ripples. While Suminagashi Damascus exists on double-edged forge-welded knives too, and you can see some of those on our global website, we wanted to showcase some single-edged ones today. What's beautiful about Suminagashi Damascus is that the pattern isn't as clearly defined, which creates a more subtle, elegant effect, and this kind of Damascus finish is actually much more difficult to create too. This one here is a particularly high-end one, with a special pattern that looks almost like fire on the back of the knife, where the soft iron and hard steel clash together. And this is a very unique, original pattern as well. So come by our store if you want to see such things, or you're interested in these kinds of artistic, more Damascus traditional style appearances. Whenever you see a knife with Suminagashi on it, you can very quickly discern a few things about it. At least at this point in time, it clearly indicates that the knife is forge-welded, it's made in Sakai, and made by one of only a few very high-end artisans. So it's an incredibly good indicator that you have a wonderful knife whenever it has it. They are quite rare, but well worth the wait to get one. And another unique point is that it can also be done on high carbon steel. This knife here is actually made using Blue Steel 1, which is a steel that is rather difficult to forge with. So, with all this information in hand, will you get a knife with a Damascus steel finish on it? Well, maybe you already have some. They do really level up your cooking experience in an aesthetic way, and for some people, that's really important. Others, however, especially professional chefs, tend to prefer cost performance over all else, in which case they might focus on something a little different. Let us know in the comments either way, and if you're wanting to learn more about kitchen knife history, you should try watching some of our other videos, like this one that compares VG10 and Ginsan together, two very famous stainless steels in the world of Japanese kitchen knives. And stainless steels are what you'll often see Damascus steel finishes on. You can also find more content on our own website, where we've written about Damascus steel in more detail. Okini!